welcome to Mom Talk. So I had another video planned for my first Mom Talk, but it didn't feel quite right because I feel like in order for you to understand the future topics that I'm going to talk about, you kind of have to understand my journey that it took for me to become a mom. Because a lot of the times we just see people, we see people on the internet or on social media, and we assume that their life is easy because that's what it looks like, or like the things that they're going through maybe is easy because it makes it look like that on social media. But the reality is it was a journey for my husband and I to be able to have kids. And so I kind of wanted to let you know my story of how I became a mom. First, I kind of gotta take you a little bit back. When I was growing up, I came from a divorced household, and that kind of made me start thinking about relationships in a totally unhealthy way. Because I saw my parents go through this divorce, I didn't want a relationship and I didn't want to have kids. So I grew up my whole entire life not wanting to get married, one, and then not having kids, two. And so when I finally met my husband, those conversations that you have when you're getting to know somebody, is like, do you want to have kids? And I told him straight off the bat, I don't want to have any kids. By this point, God had kind of worked in my heart, and I got saved, and God worked on my heart on a lot of things, and obviously the desire to be married one day came. But the whole kids thing, I don't want to have kids. And so when I met my husband, we had that conversation. I told him I don't want to have kids. And so we actually get together, and we're getting closer and closer to marriage. And then we were just talking one day, and he's like, I just kind of wanted to know, have you changed your mind at all about having kids now that we're getting married? And I told him, no, I don't want kids. And then he's like, and I'm like, so if that's something that you were wanting, then it's probably something, maybe we shouldn't get into this whole marriage thing, if that's something you want. And he said something that I'll never forget. And he's like, I'm just going to pray for you. And I said, okay. In my head, I'm like, that's not going to change anything. But obviously there's so much power in prayer. And we get married. And obviously we're enjoying being married. And 6 months later, I find out that I'm pregnant. And so to me, this was a surprise because ever since I got, and I guess if you're watching this, I'm just going to let you know from right now, I'm going to be completely open with with what I'm talking about. So if you're squeamish or don't like TMI, then this is probably not the video for you. But basically, ever since I got my menstrual cycle, my period, it has never been consistent. I never checked it out. I didn't really care to check it out because since I didn't want to have kids, I was like, no period, kind of helps with the no kids thing. So I never really wanted to find out why it was that I wasn't getting my menstrual cycle, so I was kind of shocked to find out that I was pregnant because I hadn't had my period for a year and a half. So I got married. When I got married, I hadn't had my period for a whole year. And so 6 months, obviously, into being married, it had already been a year and a half. So to find out I was pregnant, I was really shocked because I didn't think that I could get pregnant, or, I obviously thought I could get pregnant. I just didn't think it was going to happen so quickly because I hadn't had a period for so long. And so when I got to be pregnant, I started feeling like, I started picturing my future child. I started, like, all these, like, motherly instincts just started rushing through me. And, you know, we were so excited. And for the first time in my life, I was actually, like, I want kids. Like, I didn't think it would be, like, the way it is, you know? Like, when I found out I was pregnant, I was, like, everything that I'm feeling, I didn't think I was capable of feeling those things. And we were so excited, and I was, you know, looking forward to becoming a mom. Like, I had no idea anything about kids because I never was around kids. I didn't want kids. But this idea of becoming a mother, and like that this baby was going to be a product of, you know, the love that my husband and I share. And I got excited to be able to bring this child up in God and show them how to serve God, and that we would serve God together as a family. And then I don't remember what we were doing, but we were driving in the car, and all of a sudden I started feeling these really sharp pains. And then I looked down, and because I felt the pains like near my uterus, and I looked down, and then there's so much blood. My skirt was just full of blood. And in that moment, I knew I'm having a miscarriage. But I was trying to have faith, and I was I told my husband the pain was so intense. I told my husband, I need you to call the ambulance. The ambulance came, and they brought me. And basically, sure enough, there's a lot more to the story, and maybe one day I'll talk a little bit more about it. But sure enough, I had lost the baby. And that broke me. I felt in that moment that this was my punishment for telling God, and for so long I didn't want kids. I felt like God was punishing me, you know, and he's like, I'm giving you what you want. And I felt sad. I felt empty. I felt numb. And I fell into this incredible sadness that I just couldn't snap out of. And that awoke in me the wanting to be a mom. But then, so I kind of, obviously with having the miscarriage, I had to get a whole bunch of studies done, make sure the baby was, you know, out, and like, you know, the baby had, everything had came out. And I hope I don't cry, you know, but I might. I found out, they gave me a call. They're like, we have to run a couple tests, and they gave me a call, and I think that was like one of the most saddest calls I've ever had in my life. And basically they call me and they tell me, you know, we did some tests and we checked you, and I just want to let you know that you're basically infertile, and you have about 2% chance of getting pregnant. You have PCOS, you have a severe hormonal imbalance, and you most likely will never have kids, or if you do, you're going to need to have infertility treatment. And I died. That day I felt like, on top of me having a miscarriage, I basically get told that I'm not going to have kids. And so I wish I could say I had this tremendous faith. I was a believer. I was a pastor. And I wish I could say, like, I had this faith, like, I'm going to get pregnant. I believe that God can do it. In that moment, my world just was, like, destroyed. And I felt like this is all my fault because I never wanted to have kids. So this is, like I said, God just giving me what I wanted. And I knew that that wasn't the truth. I knew that those were just lies that were coming to my mind, but that is how I felt. And I remember, just like I said, going into this profound sadness, and it was all I could think about. It was like, I want to have a kid, I want to have a kid. So we kept on trying to get pregnant, but year 1 passed, year 2 passed, year 3 passed, year 4 passed, or year 4 starts. And in that time I had faith, but towards year 4 I really started to lose faith. I really was like, maybe it's not that God can't do it, because I believe that God can heal me and that I can give birth to I got pregnant, so there's a chance, maybe it's just not God's will for my life. And I remember just being incredibly sad, and I felt like I had never felt like, I didn't feel like myself. I just was always sad. Like, obviously I would smile and, would laugh and go out and have fun and stuff. But when I would lay at home at night, I would just think like, I wish I could have a kid, like, I love my husband. I want to have a family, and like, this is so difficult. And I remember telling God, I just don't know what to do anymore, because it's like, I want to have this kid and I want to have this child, but like 4 years have gone by and we haven't been able to get pregnant. And I remember just feeling so like defeated. And my husband has this conversation with me, and he tells me like, babe, like, am I not good enough? Is like, like, am I doing something that's making you unhappy? Like, and like, that broke me, because I was like, man, like, I'm like wasting so much time, like, looking to have this kid, and it's all I'm focused on, that I can't even appreciate like my husband, and I decided that I needed, something had to change, but I didn't know how. I didn't know how to stop feeling the way I was feeling. And so I decided to go on a month fast, and kind of go on a journey for God to heal me, and like, heal my heart and not necessarily my like womb or anything. It was more like, I need you to change my mentality on this whole situation, because I feel so negative regarding this whole situation. And I remember just telling my husband, I don't know how to stop feeling the sadness, but I'm going to try. I'm going to start doing something. And so I go on this fast, and then JC Rodriguez was preaching in our church, and he prays for me, and God uses him to say that, I was gonna basically have a kid. He didn't know the situation that was going on. And I remember in that moment being so angry at God and be like, why are you keep on telling me that I'm gonna have a kid, and like every single year has passed and nothing has happened. And I remember being so angry, and that was like the first moment, like, God was trying to speak to me, and like, I was just so upset and I was so hurt. And so I remember I continue on this fast, I could continue praying, and like, slowly but surely I started feeling better and better and better. But then I have this one night where we had a really intense conversation, my husband and I broke. I felt God's presence so heavy in that conversation, and I remember I just snapped, and I was like, what am I doing? Esther, what are you doing? God can do anything. Like, God can heal. God, if God wants, like, I will have a kid, and I'm gonna have a kid one day. Like, and I just remember snapping out of like how I felt. Like I felt like this sadness just like came off of me. And then I was like, from here on out, I'm gonna enjoy my life serving God. I'm gonna enjoy my husband. I'm going to like stop. I'm just gonna stop like obsessing over this, and I'm just gonna like live my life and be happy. Like I had already I'm like, Esther, you wasted 4 years of your life like in this headspace. You wasted all this time that you had to just enjoy and get to know and travel and all this. Like, no, like you need to stop. And the next day I had this conversation with Jessie, and Jessie was like, Pastor, what happened? And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, last night I woke up and I had to start praying for you. And I was like, why were you praying for me? And she's like, I don't know, I just had this intense feeling that I needed to pray for you. And then at like 2 o'clock in the morning, like I felt like okay, like that feeling just went away. And then I just started breaking down crying, and I told her like last night, like I had this conversation with my husband, and I just remember like I felt like God just broke all those chains in my heart, and I was like, I felt free for the first time. And I remember having this incredible faith, and so, you know, a couple months go by, and we're in this service, and the preaching is about, you know, giving God one more season to receive your miracle and not to give up. And I remember like I feeling God's like telling me, Esther, I'm gonna give you your baby, just wait one more season. And I felt so happy. It was Harrison Sanchez who was preaching. And then afterwards, because he's my friend, I was waiting to say hi. He was talking to a bunch of people. And then finally when I get up to him to say hi to him, he apologizes to me, and he's like, Esther, I'm sorry. I'm like, for what? And he's like, I like had a word from God for you, and I didn't give it to you, but I'm going to give it to you now. And he's like, God is telling me that like before next year ends, it was 2015 at that time, before 2016 ends, like you're gonna have your baby in your hands. And I remember just breaking down crying, because like I had already felt like I felt like I didn't need him, like God, to say what he said to me, because I had already felt it in my heart. Like I already knew. That was just like confirmation of God telling me, like letting me know, like I'm gonna do it, you know. And I felt like obviously I was like, I can't believe God just talked to me like that. But still, I wasn't focusing on it. Like I said, like I felt totally that my mindset around it was totally different. So like in the whole theme of, you know, enjoying my husband, for Valentine's Day, I set up this whole like romantic weekend on the beach, because I had felt like I hadn't done so much for so long. I felt like I have to do something. And so like I set up this romantic weekend, and like, you know, I ended up getting sick with bronchitis, and we were only able to be intimate one time, and I hadn't had my period for like maybe 6 months at that point. The next month after that weekend passed, I felt so incredibly exhausted, and I felt like I had to sleep all day. And I told Jessie, I'm like, Jessie, I think I'm depressed. And she's like, why? And she's like, because I told her I feel like I can't get out of bed. I'm so exhausted. And then she's like, dude, you're pregnant. And I'm like, I don't think I'm pregnant. Like, aren't I supposed to be like throwing up and like all these things? And she's like, no, dude, you're pregnant. And then I was like, I'm not pregnant. And she's like, if you don't get a pregnancy test, I'm going to go over to your house and I'm going to make you pee on a stick so I could prove to you that you're pregnant. And I was like, all right, like, calm down, like, you know. And I'm so thankful. On a side note, I'm so thankful for her, because she was always so positive and really helped me get through that season of my life. And if it wasn't for her and various people, like, you know, like Patty, my friend, she was an integral part of this whole, you know, story. And I go home and I take the pregnancy test. And I just left it in the bathroom and I started cleaning, because I had seen so many negative pregnancy tests by that point. I was just like, I'm not pregnant, you know, like, something's wrong with me, but I don't know what's wrong with me. And I look down and I go back, and sure enough, I was pregnant. I got pregnant in February. I ended up having Ellie in November, exactly how God had said it. He said, before the year ends, you're going to have your baby in your hands. And that's exactly what happened. Like, God is so incredibly good. Like, his word is so faithful. And let me tell you that being a mom has completely changed me. For I believe the better. I am a different person now. I'm not the same person I used to be. Being a mom has taught me so much about God as our Father. Has shown me all the strength that I never thought I would ever have. And I'm so incredibly happy with my daughter. She brings me so much joy. Her joy is like infectious. Whoever's around her, like, she makes them laugh and smile, and she's perfect for our family. And I'm so incredibly thankful to God that I was able to be able to experience being a mom, because I know there's so many people out there praying, and I understand them. I understand how difficult it is. I waited 5 years, like, before I was able to have Ellie, and it's not easy for everyone. Not everyone gets pregnant really fast. Some people experience miscarriages. Some people, you know, have problems with fertility, and it's not easy. And I feel so incredibly blessed to be a mom, and that's why I make sure that I appreciate what God put in my hands, because not everyone gets that opportunity. Not everyone gets the blessing of becoming a mother, and they desire it. And some people get blessed and get it. Maybe they suffer and take a long time. And some people don't ever. They adopt, or, you know, like, and I'm so incredibly blessed to be a mom, and that influences everything in my life. And that's why I'm so passionate about talking about that here on my channel. Well, every month I'm going to talk about something motherhood, and it's because, like, I feel that I have to give back, and I have to give back from this incredible blessing. And if there's anything that I can do to help you, then I want to do that as a mom. And I want you to continue to pray for us, because we are trying for our second, and obviously nothing has changed as far as my fertility, but I have a different mindset this time around. It's been a rough year. I've had 2 miscarriages this year. Hasn't been easy. The process hasn't been easy. But just how Elevation Worship song says, you know, I know you'll do it again. I've seen God work. I have a word from God, and I've seen God work. And it's been an incredibly difficult year. But this time around, I know God's gonna do it. I know he's gonna do it again, and soon I'll be giving you guys an update on, like an announcement that we're gonna be pregnant. I know that I'm gonna be doing that soon because I have a word from God. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it inspired some faith and some hope to those that are maybe struggling with infertility. If you want to reach out to me, my information is below. If this was helpful to you, give it a thumbs up, and I hope that you subscribe. That's the biggest compliment that you can give us, is to subscribe to our channel. It shows us that you want to be a part of this family. So thank you so much. Till the next time. Bye.